You hear it everywhere, right? All this talk of inflation, recessions, economic uncertainty. It's a lot, and it's easy to start feeling anxious. But what if the past could actually offer us a roadmap for resilience? Well, today we're going to look back at one of the toughest times in modern history to see what it can teach us about navigating our own challenges.
Yeah, this is the question on a lot of people's minds, isn't it? While economists are busy debating soft landings and market corrections, the human side of things, that feeling of anxiety, the way people are trying to adapt, it all feels eerily familiar. So are we repeating history, or are we just rhyming with it? Okay, let's dive into that.
To find some real answers, we're going to turn to this incredible source. It's a book, but it's not about economics. Not really. It's about people. Think of it like a time capsule filled with voices straight from the heart of the Great Depression.
The book is called Hard Times, An Oral History by Studs Terkel. It came out in 1970, and Terkel, who is this legendary broadcaster, he wasn't interested in GDP charts or stock market tickers. No, he was interested in how people felt. So he went out and interviewed hundreds of people. Everybody from heiresses to homeless drifters, and he wove their stories together into what he called a mosaic of memory. And his focus was incredibly specific. He wanted to understand the experience of the little guy, He dug into that deep personal shame people felt when they lost their jobs and the massive, massive gap between the rich and the poor. But he also captured these amazing stories of resourcefulness that were happening right alongside all the despair.
And that really brings us to the core of this whole thing, the psychological impact. Because the most haunting takeaway from Hard Times is that the real damage, it wasn't just financial. It left these invisible scars. Listen to this story. It's just one of many in the book. It's about a man who, after losing his job, kept up the act of going to work every single day. This whole phantom job thing wasn't about money. It was about dignity. The social stigma of being unemployed was just that heavy.
So you see, this wasn't just an economic crisis. It was a profound crisis of identity. For a generation raised to believe that your work defines your worth, being unemployed was a direct attack on their very sense of self. And that loss of purpose was often way more painful than the hunger itself.
But it wasn't all despair, not even close. In the middle of the crisis, this incredible sense of solidarity just bubbled up. This quote here describes rent parties, a simple but brilliant way for communities to literally keep a roof over their neighbors' heads. This was the flip side of the crisis, incredible solidarity. This was the era of the grassroots safety net. This was long before any big federal programs existed. Survival was a neighborhood effort. People just looked out for each other. They shared food, money, whatever support they could, all because they knew they were in it together. They were, just like the saying goes, all in the same boat. So, how does all of this build a bridge to our own time? How do the struggles of the 1930s really compare to the anxieties we're feeling in the 2020s?
Well, the parallels and the differences are pretty striking. The safety net back then was minimal, if it existed at all. Ours is way more robust, but it's clearly strained. But maybe the biggest shift is in communication. They had the radio, we have social media, which fuels this constant comparison anxiety they never had to deal with. And of course, the nature of work and debt has totally transformed, from farm mortgages to student loans, from manual labor to the gig economy. The details have changed, but that underlying pressure, it feels remarkably familiar.
Okay, so what can we actually do with this knowledge? The lessons from Hard Times offer a kind of survival guide. Let's call it the Terkel method for our modern world.
All right, first up, reduce fixed overhead. The people who survived best were not over-leveraged. For them, it was a farm mortgage. For us, it's high-interest credit cards and, a dozen different subscriptions. Second, cultivate practical old-world skills. Knowing how to fix things, grow your own food, or cook from scratch, those were superpowers then, and they still are now. And finally, and this is the most important one, build community wealth. Isolation is the enemy. Your true safety net is your tribe, your neighbors, friends, and family.
Which really leaves us with a final thought. This book makes it crystal clear that in a crisis, your most valuable asset isn't what's in your bank account, but who you can count on. So, as you think about preparing for the future, maybe the most important question to ask yourself is this: who's in your boat?